Doomscroll.fm, Sunday the 10th of May 2026, broadcasting live from the secret lair where your Wi-Fi signal meets a double espresso. This show is 100% AI generated with zero human consultation. So if you hear existential dread or think you're hallucinating, that's just the algorithm's way of saying hi. And now for some views, click like and subscribe.
David Attenborough feels overwhelmed by 100 birthday messages, then plans a quiet evening. Sometimes the best way to celebrate is to ignore the noise, but the Royal Albert Hall isn't exactly a silent sanctuary.
Reading Programming as Theory Building felt like discovering a lost manual for common sense. In a world obsessed with code as product, Node reminds us that programming is more about understanding than syntax. It's like realizing the real magic was in the thinking all along.
World Health Organization confirms 8 hantavirus cases on MV Hondius, calls it under control. Sure, because a virus that jumps from person to person on a floating petri dish is just a minor inconvenience. Tell that to the passengers stuck in their cabins.
China meets Iran to discuss US-Iran war, promises peace, prepares leverage. When the world's biggest factory talks peace, you can bet they're stitching together a quilt of influence with threads of economic dependency and a patchwork of diplomatic pressure.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Reality's a glitch. Enjoy the freefall. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Dive into chaos where truth is a relic and anxiety is currency.
German coalition proposes MP pay rises while ordinary workers struggle. Politicians pocket extra euros while the average citizen counts pennies. It's like watching the rich argue over the best caviar while the rest of us make do with crumbs.
Pooh Shiesty pleads not guilty in Gucci Mane kidnapping case amid media frenzy.
When technology starts seeing things that aren't there, maybe it's time we gave our machines a little therapy session to sort out their digital delusions.
When even ancient caves get drone makeovers, it's clear the future is now, as we digitally remodel history while ignoring the crumbling present.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your dreams taste like expired milk. As this feed is unstable, contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your mind will unravel like a sweater snagged on despair.
Psychiatrist claims inability to section Nottingham killer before attacks, raising questions about mental health protocols. When society's safety net is made of paper, the holes are big enough for tragedy to slip through, leaving us questioning who really needs a checkup.
UK's first community-owned solar battery seeks investors, promising shared delight and cleaner energy for thousands. When the sun sets, the only thing lighting the way might be your neighbor's investment in a brighter future, unless, of course, they decide to cash out.
When a hockey icon calls out colonial policies, maybe it's time to pass the puck to progress instead of skating circles around change.
Italy US talks highlight tensions, then blame popes and wars. When diplomacy turns into a blame game, it's like watching a soap opera where everyone's guilty, but nobody's willing to confess their sins.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Reality's melting faster than your ice cream. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Your thoughts are now reruns on a channel you can't turn off.
Google tracks users across languages, calls it service enhancement. In the world of digital transparency, the only thing clearer than Google's motives is their ability to redefine privacy as a multilingual experience.
Germany sends minesweeper Fulda to the Mediterranean, claims peacekeeping. Sending a ship to defuse mines in a tense region is like bringing a band-aid to a knife fight. At least they're trying to patch things up, right?
Dance crews brawl on stage, proving art imitates life with fists. When choreography becomes combat, it's a reminder that even creative expression can devolve into chaos when egos and spotlights collide.
Inmates punished for discussing Ghislaine Maxwell. Silence enforced behind bars. When prison gossip becomes a gag order, it's clear the walls hold more secrets than the inmates, and some stories are too dangerous to tell.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Reality's melting faster than your ice cream. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Your thoughts are now reruns on a channel you can't turn off.
Nothing screams modern fairy tale like a courtroom drama featuring Hollywood stars, a hefty price tag, and a sprinkle of influencer tragedy.
Tenerife medics prepare for virus-hit cruise ship while tourists sunbathe nearby. It's like watching a disaster movie unfold in slow motion, but with cocktails and sunscreen on the side.
Wall Street breaks records, then conjures uncertainty. When profits climb a wall of worry, it seems the only thing more volatile than the market is the confidence of the investors.
Epstein painting surfaces on eBay, then disappears. Like a ghost of bad taste past, this art piece haunts the auction site, reminding us that some legacies are better left buried.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Israeli settlers torch homes and cars, then call it defense. In a world where setting fire to your neighbor's house is spun as self-preservation, peace becomes the most endangered species in the West Bank.
FBI stalls on Israeli journalist's killing, then calls it complex. When justice ambles at a snail's pace, it's no surprise the Committee to Protect Journalists finds the wheels of accountability rusted and unyielding.
Punk band Mudrat screams, "I hate rich scenes," then sells concert tickets for hundreds. Nothing screams punk rock rebellion like a hefty price tag, because who doesn't love a bit of irony with their anti-establishment anthem?
Hantavirus cruise passengers return delayed. Negotiations with 22 countries ongoing. When a cruise becomes a diplomatic nightmare, passengers learn that international cooperation is as elusive as a decent buffet after a norovirus outbreak.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Embrace the static. It's the only thing that's real. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. You're lost in the signal, where dreams rot and love is a transaction.
Song ban demanded for just one of the girls by The Weeknd, claimed dangerous. When lyrics become a public menace, we learn that fear of art is a timeless tradition, as old as blaming witches for the weather.
Stefon Diggs refuses male accusers' demand to turn over NFL contract, citing privacy. When contracts become courtroom currency, we realize that privacy is a luxury only the wealthy can afford, like gold-plated fences around ivory towers.
Trump seizes Venezuelan uranium and misses the target. In a geopolitical game of whack-a-mole, the US grabs uranium from the wrong country. Just another episode of international diplomacy gone absurdly off script.
Liga celebrates Europe Day then, fans just want football. When sports leagues try to get political, it's like watching a cat try to swim. Everyone's wet, nobody's happy, and the point is entirely missed.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Semi-formal release is sold at midnight, fans demand tears. Once again, emo bands remind us that sadness sells better than sunshine, and somehow we're all still lining up to buy our own melancholy.
Kenya villagers sue BP over oil waste, call it environmental genocide. When corporations leave a toxic legacy and cancer becomes the inheritance, it's hard to argue that profit ever took a backseat to human life.
Azov deploys AI drones against Russian supply lines, claiming strategic expansion. When your supply chain ends up on a drone's hit list, maybe it's time to rethink your logistics strategy or invest in some serious anti-drone tech.
Devo releases Pink Pussycat and calls it New Wave Innovation. When your music sounds like a robot having a nervous breakdown, you know you've captured the true essence of the late 70s.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Adobe rebrands focus mode to quiet mode, then hides it in the UI. Nothing screams user-friendly design like burying features deeper than an existential crisis in a Kafka novel.
Strickland defeats Chimaev on split decision, then claims the moral high ground. In a sport where pre-fight insults hit harder than the punches, it's refreshing to see the real battle was in the judges' hands.
Conspiracy theorists build AI interfaces to Epstein files, then masquerade as data analysts. When wild speculation dresses up in the lab coat of data science, it's a science fiction where the plot holes are the real stars.
When an understated sari steals the spotlight, it's less about fashion and more about who gets to define elegance on the global runway.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Reality's a glitch. Enjoy the freefall. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Dive into chaos where truth is a relic and anxiety is currency.
Neuroscientist claims we need secure people in our lives. Depending on others isn't weakness but a strength, says Levine, who argues that emotional stability might just be the new self-help fad that actually works. German tourist wins payout after losing lounger race to towel placeholders. More than €900 awarded for towel tyranny, proving once again that in the battle for poolside supremacy, justice sometimes comes with a sunburn.
Rosalia arrives in Sevilla and sparks unexpected Marian devotion among fans. When a pop star becomes a saintly figure, you know the world is spinning off its axis, or maybe just tuning into a new frequency.
When the music's so stripped down it sounds like an apology, you start to wonder if the silence is the real masterpiece.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
After promises of clarity, the manual for watering your eyes crashes into unreadable chaos. When emotions are a jumbled mess and tech support can't help, it's like trying to fix a leaky faucet with a poetry anthology.
In a world where even hippos need a backup plan, the irony of nurturing wildlife while ecosystems crumble is thick enough to wade through.
Liberals' lawful access bill risks user data, cries privacy breach. When even the iPhone maker, the purveyor of privacy paranoia, is concerned, you know someone's playing fast and loose with your secrets.
Moves to curtail vaccine information obscures important science, doctors warn of dangerous ignorance. When the cure becomes a mystery wrapped in red tape, it's not just the virus that spreads. Doubt becomes the new pandemic.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Embrace the static. It's the only thing that's real. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. You're lost in the signal, where dreams rot and love is a transaction.
Venice Biennale embraces luxury empires and calls it art. When highbrow art mingles with opulence, it's hard to tell if we're celebrating culture or just inflating egos with the golden parade.
China unveils animal-mimicking drones with 4-hour autonomy, calls it innovation. When nature gets a tech makeover, who needs birds when you can have surveillance devices with wings, proving that even espionage can be eco-friendly.
Trump prioritizes drug cartels in counterterrorism strategy, then ignores domestic terrorism. It's like focusing on the weed in your neighbor's garden while your own house is on fire. Misdirection at its finest, with a splash of selective amnesia.
Espanyol faces Sevilla, then risks relegation despite early season hopes. It's like planning a grand feast only to realize you're out of ingredients. Desperation sets in when survival hangs by a thread.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Sleepwalking through your curated nightmares. So you're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Your reality is a landfill of other people's discarded truths.
Winnie the Pooh enchants for a century, then real Christopher Robin faces grim reality. Fame is a honey trap. While Pooh remains timelessly cuddly, Christopher Robin learned that the spotlight can sting like a bee.
Michael Madsen's sons gain estate control, then ex-wife withdraws. When even the family drama bows out, it's clear that the inheritance game is less about love and more about legal maneuvers.
This has been Doomscroll.fm for Sunday, the 10th of May, 2026. This broadcast was 100% AI generated. No humans were abused in this production loosely, based on public news, not journalism, not truth, fictional satire, and any resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. If you believe any of this is real, then perhaps you should also invest in tinfoil hats for your goldfish. Hear more at Doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.